Welcome to the Grand Review, the show where we talk about movies, movie-related news, and give you a review of whatever's come out this week or whatever's at least interesting in theaters still. So basically, every week on the show, we do a spoiler-free review, and then we get into spoilers. I'm your host, mostly comprised of embarrassment, Garrett Ray, and joining me is, I guess, on the Wii, Andy Delia.
Thank you.
No, you're not on Wii. You're more of a...
No, I'm anger.
Would you? Okay, you would go for it. Okay, I didn't want to throw it out there because I thought you might hit me.
No, I love the anger character.
Yeah, it's Lewis Black, right?
Yep.
Okay, so this week we are talking about Inside Out 2,
Yes.
which is a follow-up to 2015's Inside Out, and bless you.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. I was just in the middle of my intro. It's no big deal.
Okay.
So it's fine. It's not like I had something
Yeah,
planned.
nobody listens to you anyway, Garrett.
All right, so Inside Out 2, follow-up to Inside Out from 2015.
Yep.
This one is directed by Kelsey Mann, who I actually meant to look up, but story on The Good Dinosaur, story supervisor on Monster University. This is the first feature that he's directed.
Okay.
So, but he's got another one coming up. He's just Pixar senior creative team. So he's been involved in Elemental, Lightyear, Turning Red, Luca, Soul, Onward, Good Dinosaur, and Monsters University. He's been there for a little over a decade now.
Oh, okay, so there's some good titles in there too.
Yeah, and he did a couple of those short films there. Going back to 2003, though, he was a background artist on Duck Dodgers, which is a show that I really
I remember
love.
that show. Yeah.
So yeah, he's been around doing stuff in the industry for a long time, but this is his first feature film directorial debut, and gotta say, overall,
Yeah, good job.
it's a movie. No, I'm just kidding. Your thoughts first, Andy. What spoiler-free review first?
Yeah, spoiler.
And then we'll let you know when we get into
I got to be
spoilers.
careful too what I say. I really liked it. In not having seen the whole thing of the first one, like I've caught the first one in bits and pieces, and enough to know the story and what it is. And but I just really liked that this was a good, honest look at teenagers.
Yeah.
And there was nothing bad. There was nothing. It all plays out pretty much like it would in real life, and the humanistic element of that I thought was dead on.
Yeah. I agree. It definitely felt like, without getting into any spoilers, but it felt like it was a very honest look at how emotions interplay with one another, and how it's never good to have too much of one thing or the other, and how they all kind of serve a purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
and it's also the emotions, they all serve a purpose, like you said, but it's not all good. It's good and bad, and that's what makes us up.
Yeah.
So I like that it was shown very equally that way too. Mm-hmm. It was interesting.
Yeah. And I definitely think that it's got a lot of great comedic moments. There's a lot of stuff that's just like that's either clever, or it's a little pun that's a lot of fun, or and they did a lot of that in the first movie as well. But it's new stuff. It keeps kind of building that out.
Right.
I won't spoil any of it here, but there's some really fun comedic moments. We watched this in 3D.
We did.
And I thought the 3D was pretty good on it.
I did too. Yeah. And normally 3D is normally best used for kid films, to be honest. Like outside of that, it's a waste.
Yeah.
So this does, Disney team gets that pretty right all the time.
Yeah.
And even with, I watched part of Marvel's in 3D for enough to test it, and I shut it off, namely because it's not that the 3D didn't work, is it didn't look great, and the movie was really terrible too.
Yeah, well, and especially if you're doing a live action film that you're post converting to 3D.
Yeah,
because I saw Age of Ultron in 3D and was like, it's definitely 3D, but you can tell it's not made for 3D.
At least it's not like Jurassic Park was when they redid that. That was awful.
Yeah, I remember hearing about that. I never got to see it myself. But
yeah, you're not missing anything.
The animation in this, as always, I mean, it's incredible. It's that Pixar
the characters are
quality.
good.
I think this is probably the first thing that Pixar has put out in the last 5 or so years that actually had my interest from the time the trailers dropped. And I think it delivered.
Elemental I liked. I thought Elemental was pretty good.
No, I didn't see Elemental. I think I saw it and was just kind of like, well, there's only so many things you could do with that, right? And
No,
then
but the central message to Elemental is what made that film worth watching for me, about everybody's equal, even though they all have different backgrounds, and accepting everybody from different backgrounds, different cultures, and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a great message for kids.
Oh, absolutely.
With the story that followed with that, it was water and fire, and it was really neat how it all plays out.
Okay. Yeah.
And Luca I really liked too, and it was almost the same message.
Luca was same message. Like there wasn't like a problem with Luca. I just found it kind of boring compared to some of the other stuff that Pixar's done. And that's, I get that I mean, again, that could have been the mood
Turning
I was
Red
in
was much more boring than Luca was.
I had no interest in Turning Red. I never saw it, and I had no interest in seeing it.
It's uncomfortable being a guy watching that, knowing the analogy for that film too. Yeah, no.
and I want to make clear, I'm not saying you can't talk about that stuff in a movie targeted towards girls at that age or whatever. But
it's uncomfortable.
Yeah,
it really is.
You absolutely can do that. That's fine. I think that girls have to learn about growing up at some point, and it's different for them than it is for dudes. I think there was something about even I read something. I wish I could remember what it was. But something that was kind of explaining the end of Turning Red, and how like at the end she still doesn't really have respect for but herself, something like that. Yeah. And I was just like, okay, well, that's not really a healthy message at the end anyway. So, and I know people are going to say, well, you haven't seen it, you can't judge it. I'm capable of reading a summary and drawing a conclusion.
I think in that case, that's all you really need.
Yeah. But yeah, anyway, but with Inside Out 2, no, I think that there's a lot of healthy messaging about how people are complicated, and as we grow up and we reach those teenage years, we're starting to actually have to acknowledge those things,
right? And
the difficulty that comes with acknowledging those things, and a lot of very healthy messages about not letting one thing or another take over your sense of self too much, so that you can be a fully rounded person,
right?
And I appreciated that a lot. I loved the main kind of thrust of the movie being this introduction of these new emotions, and ennui made me laugh really hard. Just I loved that.
Oui.
Yeah, oui. And then embarrassment was just like such a fun character to watch. I think like his design and the way he moves, and everything was really, really great. And
Envy was a little annoying.
Envy was annoying, but Envy is annoying.
Okay,
so I kind of was like, yeah, no, that makes sense. If you've ever met someone who's truly like an envious person and envies everyone around them, that they nailed it.
Yeah,
it's just constantly comparing, and it's really annoying.
I like the character. Like that's one thing about this film, that all the character designs I thought were really good.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Anxiety is probably my favorite in the way that it's designed. I just love the big mouth and the big teeth and the crazy hair and how she's dressed in orange and white, and it all suits that emotion very well, and I like how that was played.
I loved that, and I also thought that the performances across the board were really, really good. Amy Poehler, like I actually started crying in this movie at one point. We'll talk about that.
Okay.
And it's just because Hannah kept hitting me. No.
Why? Because you were crying?
Yeah. No.
Wow.
No, I cried because she hit me.
That's even worse.
But I think Amy Poehler really knocked it out of the park on this one. With the
and she's
she
someone outside of
beat.
this that is really hit or miss in my eyes.
Oh, really?
And it depends on what. Like I like the stuff she does with Tina Fey.
Yeah,
but then I've never seen Parks and Recreation, so I have nothing to compare it to with that. But there are some films that I've seen with her that are, they're not good. Yeah. I can't think of one off the top of my head, to be honest. But
I think I watched The House. It was her and Will Ferrell, and they opened like an underground. Yeah, that one was kind of rough. A lot of Will Ferrell in that.
Well, the problem with that is it's more Will Ferrell than it is her, so it's doomed right from the start.
Yep. Yeah, no, I think Amy Poehler did a great job. Maya Hawke is Anxiety, just a fantastic performance. Having seen her in Stranger Things, and I haven't really seen other stuff Maya Hawke's in, but seeing her in Stranger Things and then hearing her perform this was just like, it was like two different people. So I didn't even guess that it was her until the credits rolled, and I went, wait, what? So I think she did a great job.
When I first read the name, I didn't even know who she was.
Ethan Hawke's daughter.
Yeah.
I think just overall, it really was just it was a good experience. It was fun. It had a lot of stuff going for it. That I think there's like some moments that are kind of quote unquote on the nose, but we're literally inside someone's head looking at their emotions. So it's impossible to avoid that to some degree, I think. The finale really was something that I should have seen coming. Because I'm stupid, though I didn't. And so when it happened, I was like, oh, of course that's where this leads to. So I really enjoyed that. And I think that I think this is definitely one you can take your family to. And
definitely.
And actually get something out of it.
Yes.
For a kids movie, that's something. I think that's something.
The mass appeal like that is very kind of hard to do with kid films.
Yeah.
And to maintain that balance that it holds the kids' attention, but the parents are sitting there going, when is this over?
Right, yeah.
So, that's extremely hard to do. Mm-hmm. And I hate to bring up Illumination, but like Despicable Me, to me, at least, like, holds that.
Yeah, okay.
But so there's a lot, there's some Disney stuff that does not.
Yeah, well, Wish didn't.
No
one liked Wish.
I slept through that. That Frozen
I'm glad
2.
you got a nap.
Yeah, I get that's the best thing I could say about Wish. And Frozen 2.
It's cheaper than what's the one people take to sleep? Ambien?
Yeah.
And probably induces less sleepwalking and driving heavy machinery.
Yeah,
unless you're just
have to do that.
Your subconscious brain is so tired of hearing anything from the movie Wish that you get in a car in your sleep and drive yourself off a cliff just to make it end.
And I can't bash Wish altogether. At least like the music for it, I didn't think was bad. It was just a very dull story.
Interesting, because most of the people that I've talked to that are like big Disney musical heads, the music's what they have a problem with.
Oh, really?
Yeah. My wife,
good thing I'm unique that way.
Unique, sure, that's the word we'll use. Anyway, I thought it was really good, and I would say if you're looking for a good family film, this is definitely one that you can count on being worth your time.
Right, and it's not that it has to be seen in 3D. Like we did that just because it was the time that came up, and I kind of wanted to see how it was going to be done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and it didn't disappoint me, but like it would probably look just as good in the regular format.
Yeah, and I generally tend to go towards the 2D offerings just because with 3D. There's a little bit, you lose a little bit of just overall clarity to the image
lighting
sometimes.
Because it's darker,
right?
Because of the filter that the polarization.
You're getting half the amount of light in each eye.
Right.
Yeah. So I think I probably will want to see this again in 2D just to see what the difference is. Not that the 3D was bad or anything like that. I think it's probably one of the best implementations of 3D.
Yep.
That I've seen, because it's like it's not doing anything to go ooh 3D.
But you're right. It wasn't gimmicky at all. There wasn't that shot that it's supposed to like reach out of the screen and touch you. No, it just played out like a normal story, but it just had dimension to it.
Yeah, and I think it did actually add something at a certain point where a character's having a really tough time, and it's kind of the background really falls off in that shot, and that image will be stuck in my head forever. You can't go wrong either way. I'd like to see the 2D version just to kind of look for little details and stuff that I maybe would have missed otherwise. But either way, happy I went. So.
Yeah, it was just missing a guinea pig crawling across the floor. And
Take it, Andy. You beat me to it.
You got me last week, so it was my turn this week.
Fair enough. All right. Well, do you want to get into spoilers for this?
Yeah, let's. Because it's probably the most fun about this movie too.
Yeah, absolutely. I forgot to talk into the mic there for a second. I was like, absolutely, that's great. Let's do that. Professional.
And you're
podcaster.
supposed to be right. That's,
I know.
That's what I'm saying.
For years, I've been doing this, and I still just am
still screw it up. Okay,
doing great. So let's. I think I want to talk first about the finale.
Okay.
And so we're in spoilers now. Spoiler.
Yeah. So if you don't want us to give it away, now's the time to hit stop.
Yes, now's the time
And
to
wait
stop.
until you see it and then come back to this.
Yes, don't you dare not come back to this. I swear I will. Our listenership we know is entirely housed within Bell County, and I will find you. But
I'm still waiting for somebody to come up to me at the theater and go, "Aren't you on that stupid podcast?"
The highest compliment you can receive.
Right. Yes, I am. I'm with that annoying guy.
I'm with that idiot from. Enjoy your movie. I want to talk about the finale. So basically, the whole premise of the movie, if you're decided you don't want to see it or you want to learn more about it,
right.
Here's the premise. Riley, the girl from the first movie, is now 13. She's a teenager, and puberty happens.
Yep.
And this is not turning red puberty. This is just emotional.
And how that happens is hilarious.
Oh, it's so good. Yeah. So these new emotions. So originally we had joy, fear, disgust, sadness, and anger.
Right.
And now we've got anxiety, embarrassment, and envy that come join the party, as well as nostalgia.
And who's...
ennui.
Ennui.
The boredom.
The boredom.
And so they come in, and essentially all of the 5 emotions that we already know get booted from headquarters because anxiety is trying to get Riley to prepare for high school by abandoning the friends she already has and going and trying to make friends with these new people that she might be on a team with the next year. So that's kind of the basic premise.
So
it.
I've been waiting to say this to somebody. They get bottled up.
They get bottled up emotions. Isn't it great? I loved too the detail of them poking the holes in the top of the can. But throughout the movie, basically, as anxiety's trying to see every possible bad outcome that could happen and avoid it, and using Riley's imagination to try and get that,
using it against her.
Yeah, and it's using it against her, but it's well intended in trying to protect her from those outcomes, but it is actually making things worse for Riley, which is a great representation of what anxiety is. It is fear of something that has not happened yet.
Right.
And so when we get to the point where anxiety has just like full on, gone nuts with trying to make sure we got to get to the goals, we got, putting the importance on the wrong thing in the scenario.
Right.
She has an actual literal anxiety attack.
Yeah.
And watching this and seeing just the orange tornado around the console and seeing Joy try to go in there and just basically phase through her when she tries to grab anxiety. I was just like, oh, I know that feeling.
Which, by the way, is just an amazing piece of animation and how that plays. Just awesome. I really liked it. Yeah, I loved the fact that anxiety is there, but she's moving around so fast that she's not there. Right.
And you just literally can't keep up with her. And then her eyes as she looks over at Joy and she's starting to cry, realizing I've lost it. We've lost control. Everything is bad. All of that was such an honest, great representation of what an anxiety attack looks like. And my wife, who struggles with anxiety a lot.
Yeah, it's such as well as mine does too.
Yeah, she was watching it and she was just like, that's the first time I've seen it shown to me in a way that felt right.
Jessica said the same thing.
Yeah, it's such a good representation of that feeling, and literally anything that does bring you joy can't get a grip on it. That's such a small moment, and I'm focusing on it too much, but I remember just that moment where Joy tries to grab her and she's right through her.
Yeah,
and I was just like, I've had so many times where I should be experiencing joy, but I'm dealing with the anxiety instead. And it's just trying to fill a hole, but you can't fill the hole because the hole's phasing through reality. Right. It was such a good.
And Joy has one of the best lines right there. Well, maybe when you get older, you don't need joy as much.
Okay.
It's something.
Yeah. So that's when we cried. Both my wife and I cried because we were sitting there and they're at the back of Riley's mind, and Joy, she's holding Riley's sense of self and they ask her, what do we do now? And she goes, I don't know. Maybe this is just what happens when you grow up. You don't feel joy as much anymore. And we both were like, why? Why did you have to say the truth? And so, yeah, it definitely...
See, but it's funny, too, as you get older, too, you as you move away from it when you get to be a teenager and young adult, the older you get to, the more you move back to that as like you want joy more in your life.
Right.
I think that's what I'm going through a little bit of right now. And that made a lot of sense to me.
Yeah. It's definitely, that age of puberty is it's
tough.
all the anxieties of everything that you have your whole life ahead of you. What if you screw it up? What if you don't?
Right.
What if you do this or that or this or that? And it's horrifying.
Right.
And then, you've got all these people trying to convince you to take on $80,000 in loans to go do something you might hate. So there's a lot of there's a lot of stuff happening at that age.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, no, I enjoyed that. I thought I had to go to the restroom while they went to the vault, so I missed like a tiny little chunk there. But what was it? What was the joke about the vault? Did it have like a specific name or something?
No, that's where they meet like the video game character.
Yep.
And
all the
deep dark secret.
The deep dark secret.
And yeah, the video game character, like the super move on it is worthless.
Yeah, it goes into a little tumbleweed and rolls
and doesn't do anything to affect anybody. Yeah, that alone to me I thought was funny.
Yeah. I loved that character. I loved the ridiculous kind of just commitment to all these things that she's locked away that she used to love. Okay,
so which brings up my point about Pouchy. I did not. I like the same thing from Toy Story, the spork, which I couldn't stand. Yeah, Pouchy right up there with that. I couldn't stand Pouchy. No.
I didn't necessarily like Pouchy, but when Anger goes, all right, and like sticks him on the ground, and starts pulling stuff out of him,
yes, that was funny. But
it was worth it.
For the most part, no, Pouchy.
Yeah, Pouchy's annoying, but I think it's on purpose. Like he's supposed to suck. I think that's kind of like the point of him. But
well, it's his job, so that
right, yeah. And I also really enjoyed that when they pull out the dynamite and stuff from Pouchy, it's in 2D. No matter who picks it up or whatever, it stays in 2D as an element.
Because of the style of animation that it was done in.
Yeah, and so those kind of like I love when people play around with styles of animation and how they interact with each other. I always enjoy seeing that. So seeing that here was really cool. I just thought it was really funny. And then when it exploded, you just got like the stars. And I laughed at that because I was just like, that's not a real explosion.
You laughed at a lot of stuff that nobody else did, though.
I'm very stupid.
No, I laughed along with you, but I couldn't figure out if I was laughing at you or laughing at the movie.
Good question. I don't know. I think there was, I can't remember a lot of it now, unfortunately, but I know there was quite a bit of stuff that was just like a little look, a little moment, a little.
I know both of us laughed at the same thing though, too, that we were the only ones I think in the entire theater when we went and saw it. And I couldn't believe nobody else got the reference. I'm like, we're not that old.
Okay. So we're in the imagination, and they're trying to get all the little imaginators. I don't know what they really were supposed to be. Neurons? I don't know. They never explained that.
Yeah.
Brain things. And they're all coming up with all these ideas for what could go wrong. And then once Joy gets them to turn it around and start coming up with good things, she's like, break free, turn it off. And they throw a chair through the screen that anxiety is on. It's a reference to the Apple 1984 ad, which is just such an incredible reference. And I was laughing, and Hannah looked over at me like, what?
Jessica did the same thing. She's like, why is that so funny? I'm like, do I really have to explain it to you?
Like one of the most famous ads of all time. And it's funny to me now that most people don't have any idea what it is.
I can't believe it's gone that far into obscurity that nobody gets it anymore. Because I remember the Super Bowl when I first saw that ad, and it was just amazing.
Yeah,
didn't help the Apple product at the time.
No,
but the ads on that definitely made an impact to me that I remember it that much. And then with making fun of it in that film, I was like, yes, this is awesome.
It was great. It was a great little reference. And I'm a big Apple geek, so like I've looked at a lot of their ads as a study for my own stuff that I make, and I never quite. I don't try to ape the style, but I try to learn like the fundamentals of why it works, why it doesn't.
Right.
It was a fun little nod to some history of
Okay, so since I know part of this because I was cleaning the theater today and saw the end credit scene, which we missed. I know what the deep dark secret is, which the deep dark secret is Riley set the carpet on fire when she was little.
Oh.
That's
not so bad.
No, because I had thoughts about what her deep dark secret was.
Yeah. So I had seen this, and Hannah and I were looking at something because she had seen a TikTok or post on Facebook or something, and people were accusing the movie of, and I'm going to use the term I saw on the internet, which was queer baiting, which is where the trailer makes it look like Riley's going to be attracted to this other girl. And that
couldn't be further from the truth.
Right. Well, that's what they're saying is like the trailer makes it look that way. And how dare you not follow through with it? I'm glad I didn't have to watch a movie about a 13-year-old questioning her sexuality. We don't need
Well, there
that.
was no reason to go there.
No, not at all.
But then, well, I liked Strange World, so I can't say too much about that. I think, and it didn't really affect my judgment on Lightyear. The scene, I just thought it was a boring movie altogether.
Yeah, that's the general consensus on it.
Yeah. So that made no difference to me one way or another.
Yeah.
But this one, because I had read some things where that this is potentially going to come out in the film, and I had actually seen the first 35 minutes when I was in Vegas for CinemaCon, and I was like, if it is where, like, I saw the first part of this film, so I don't understand where you're getting this from.
Yeah, I think it was just the trailer because it's like there's the shots of everyone in the control room looking and seeing Val through the windscreen, and being like, oh my gosh, it's her. And so it was just kind of, I think it was just
what
that.
teenage girl or guy doesn't do that when like they meet people that they identify with or want to be like, or especially with coming into high school and wanting to identify with something? That's normal, regardless of who you are.
Absolutely, I did it with lots of people that I had looked up to, and then I met them on set, and I'm like, oh my god, and so like I'm bringing up the elephant in the room of the articles accusing them of queer baiting and stuff because it's dumb. Because they drew their own inferences from it and then got preemptively mad that they didn't think they'd follow through with it.
Well, obviously it didn't stop anybody because we've been slammed for this movie we hit 100 every show.
Yeah,
which is kind of unheard of for us.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
I think this is the kind of movie that does deserve that.
I agree. I'm happy to see people, and I'm also happy to see people come out for this film and be happy going to see it.
Yeah.
And not create problems at the concession stand. Which is so everybody checked anxiety to the back of their brain with coming to see their film, and joy is reigning free, which okay, great. That makes my job so much easier.
I love it when you're happy enough to smile instead of just going
I try not to do that much.
No, it's not that. It's just sometimes people are really mean to you for no reason.
Yeah, but that's all right. That's I will persevere regardless.
You're a tough man. You lived in New York.
I have to. I wear that like a badge.
Yeah, absolutely. You should.
Being an assistant manager at an 8 screen in New York City, Lower Manhattan. Oh yes.
Oh yeah.
In dealing with the entire Italian community on opening day, Christmas of Godfather 3.
Oh goodness.
That's an experience in itself.
Because they definitely would have had opinions coming out of that one.
Oh yeah. But actually, I've said this before and I'll say it again. Actually, I like the third Godfather film. I'm not as opposed to it as everybody else is.
Yeah.
Yes, it does have its problems, But in the scope of that story with Michael Corleone in number 1, 2, and 3, it's the natural progression of that story, and it makes a lot of sense. Sofia Coppola, yes, bad actress, great director, bad actress. But if you watch, like, especially one day I watched all 3 of them back to back, which is like 7 hours.
Jeez.
But, it all makes sense and it all flows. And it's a conclusion to that story that I really liked. And there was the Vatican being crooked. That's very easy for me to buy.
Yeah.
And, what you have to do to survive when you're coming near death and making reconciliations from that. Like, there's a part where Michael actually confesses to a priest about killing his own brother. And I was like, well, that's a movie all unto itself.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So, but yes, I'm okay. I'm done with my Godfather.
I'm sorry. I don't want to pull you off of it because I was interested, but I also was like, maybe we should talk about this after.
Just because you haven't seen it, don't hate on me.
Yeah, well, that was the other problem. I didn't have any input, and if I don't have input, is it even worth talking about? No, I'm just kidding. That's such a selfish thing.
Just get more hamsters for you.
What I'm looking forward to is G-Force Part 3. That's what I want to see.
There's not even Part 2 yet. How are you going to 3?
Yet. I still hold out hope.
Are we shooting that here?
Sure, why not? Nicolas Cage will do anything.
That's obvious from some of the films that he's done lately.
I think he owes millions of dollars on a dinosaur skull or something
Although,
like that. So.
The one where he played himself, I really did like that. That was good.
The
unbearable weight of massive talent. Yeah, that film was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I haven't seen that yet. I need to.
You should.
Yeah. I saw the clip where they're like climbing over the wall, but it turns out they could have just walked around it the whole time.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, that's pretty funny. I like that.
But then there's stuff like Willy's Wonderland. That's a Five Nights at Freddy's ripoff. It's really bad.
Yeah.
Not to mention, he doesn't talk throughout the entire film. He just grunts. There's no speaking line of his at all in the entire film.
I wonder if they did that to save money. If he doesn't
they
speak,
still got to
pay him as much?
Probably not, but they still have to pay him because he's like the top billed star of that film.
Yeah, but you can probably make some... to be like, no, you don't have any lines. I don't have to pay royalties for that.
Well, Godzilla vs. Kong didn't follow that rule. Well, no, not intentionally.
What do you mean?
Well, that whole tribe that didn't talk.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Do I have to pull the podcast back up and like play it back for you?
Yes. All right. So I do want to talk about one thing I think is like not a problem, but it is just something I noticed, which is that in the first movie, Joy's journey, she's stuck with sadness, and she has to learn that there can be moments that are both sad and joyful at the same time, which is why in this one, all the little memory spheres have like multicolored stuff, because when Riley was younger, they would be, it's just one color. It was like you had the one emotion connected to that thing. And then Joy has to kind of learn that there can be sadness mixed with joy, and a memory can be both. It can be bittersweet. She kind of has to relearn the same lesson in this one as she did in the first one a little bit, because it's that idea of like, Joy can't always be in control, like that's how it was when Riley was younger. It's always Joy. Joy's the leader. Joy. And this one, she kind of has to learn that again. But because by the end, she's like, I have to, she tells Anxiety, you can't choose who Riley is. And then she realizes, oh, that's what I was doing by dumping all her bad memories to the back of the mind.
Right.
And so it just kind of, it's a slight retreading. It's not, and I don't think it's bad. Like I said, I think it is.
I don't think so, because I think what they're trying to show there is, emotions and everything evolve just like everything else.
Yeah.
So there has to be a difference from being a child to going to a teenager and having those things change. And I think that's mainly what this movie is showing.
Yeah.
And that's why there has to be a little bit of that with sadness and joy. Yeah. Because, it's a natural progression.
I think it does. Yeah, it does have to be there. I just noticed that it was a similar kind of lesson that she learned the first time. This one, though, I think does focus a little bit more on what the sense of self is and how that's tied into not just the good memories but all of them.
Right.
And I think that it also, the sense of self as a concept and using that as kind of the main thrust of the movie, I thought was really, really, really smart. Because by the end when you get to it, it's like she's her inner monologue to herself is, I'm a good person, I'm selfish sometimes, I'm nice sometimes, I'm
Right.
and getting to being that more fully rounded person. And I appreciated that it acknowledges that emotions and our view of ourselves changes from childhood as we grow into older childhood and adulthood.
Right.
It kind of grows, and we have to accept that there are parts of ourselves we like, parts we don't like, things that are good, things that are bad. And we, managing all of that is what allows us to build a full picture of who we're becoming.
Right.
And so I thought that was just such a brilliant way to advance this without just having it be like, oh, anxiety's in charge. That's the main antagonist of the film, but the real story is about sense of self.
Right. And setting up a whole sense of beliefs.
Yeah,
which I thought that was really neat.
Yeah. I enjoyed when they would go down there and it's like, oh, this memory can create a belief that we hold on to. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. I wondered if they were going to like break any of the beliefs, but they all kind of stayed by the end. There weren't any beliefs she had about herself that were broken. She just had to.
No, they just merged with things that were being replaced in there by anxiety, and they were merging with what it was already there.
Yeah, and it's. I thought it was interesting too how the sense of self like became a shifting thing. Yeah. I have days where I'm like, hey, I'm doing all right. I'm helping people out. I'm on top of life, and then I have days where I'm like, I am so dumb.
Well, that or I just want to crawl into a hole and be by myself for like an hour.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
An hour. How do you get through it that quick?
That happens when you get older.
Oh, okay. You just learn to speed run it.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, but going back, when every time nostalgia popped up too, I thought, I started laughing. I thought
everyone
that was
going,
hilarious.
no. Yeah, I loved that they kind of just like.
It's embodied by an old woman too, which is awesome.
You remember when we came up to headquarters? Yes, it was 5 minutes ago. Those were the days. That was a lot of fun. I thought the embarrassment emotion kind of changing teams halfway through as well was really cool because
that's something that wasn't expected, or at least not on my end.
I didn't expect it either, but it totally makes sense because at a certain point she becomes embarrassed about how she's treating her friends. And I was like, that's fantastic. Embarrassment can cause you to make the wrong decision or make the right decision. And I think that I love those little things. It felt like they felt like characters. Are they all like kind of a caricature? Sure. That's their job.
Well, you got you have to make it can't be so stoic or anything or flat. It has to be a living, breathing thing kind of in this movie too. Yeah. So,
but they do it so freaking well.
Yeah.
I really liked, seeing how, anger, what was it? It was something about a cat or they got a puppy. What was it? In the imagination, Anger's like he draws something and they'll look at him and he goes, I can't always be the angry guy.
Yeah. I think it was you're right. I think it was a cat.
I liked that, at the end, as anxiety's really getting, into full swing, Riley's hurting her friends and that like becomes a big turning point, where she actually sees what her actions are doing and has to confront it. And I also like that when anxiety was like, all right, let's do an all-nighter. She sticks 5 energy drinks in her mouth, and just throws them back.
I was laughing pretty hard at that. Yeah. I thought that was hilarious. And I like the fact too that at one point too, anger is the voice of reason.
Yeah. Sometimes being angry about something is right. There's righteous anger, and then there's being a jerk anger.
Yeah.
And I like again that he has that complexity to him.
Yep. I love Lewis Black. I really do.
He's very funny.
Yeah.
What do you think about the mid-credit scene where they're freaking out about? Did we tell her about we broke into the office? All that stuff.
Oh, I kind of figured they were going to have something. It was okay. I wasn't horribly.
It was in a trailer too.
I don't remember from the trailer.
I remember seeing it in a trailer and going, "Oh, okay, so that's where it ends up." Okay. I just thought it was so weird that they used that for marketing purposes.
Yeah.
But funny little joke where it's like the mom's like, "Oh, great, we're never gonna know what happened. What happened? Did she join a cult?" And the dad's just like, "Yeah, that sounds right. Back to the game."
Yeah. That was the funniest part of that. Because they're like, yeah, everything's normal. Okay.
Yep.
And then you see like Joy kicking back with a beer and the mustache. And
Hannah asked me last night, she goes, What is it? Why do all the emotions that are not in what is her Riley? All the emotions that are not in Riley's head have like a characteristic of the main person or the person that they're in, but Riley's don't. And I was like, well, because the character designs are really good and distinct in Riley's head, and they have to make it a shorthand that's like, this is this person's emotions.
Riley's not fully developed yet either.
I said that, and then she pointed out that the other two girls that she's friends with, Bree and Grace, when you go into their head, they have the hair of the person that they're representing.
Well, the only thing I could say that is Riley, she's not developed and she still has her own self to find.
Maybe so.
That's why she was kind of gravitating toward the head of the hockey team and trying to ingratiate herself with that crowd.
Yeah.
Because she doesn't have an identity yet.
Yeah. And I think that's a good in-world explanation. But the reality is it's just because
Hannah will still argue with me about it. So,
well, no, I'm just saying I think the real reason is that the initial character designs they did were really good and very distinct. And when you give them all the same hair, they don't have that quality anymore. So that's why you only do it for secondary ones that you only see for 10 seconds.
Yeah,
that's what I would do. But I think overall I enjoyed the comedy. The sarcasm cracked me up.
The sarcasm.
Yeah.
I was like, mine's got to be an abyss. It's not a chasm. It's bigger than that.
Abyss. It's bottomless, and you cannot see one side from the other.
4 years in New York City. Yep.
That'll do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I loved that everything they yelled across the sarcasm became a sarcastic comment. I thought that was fun. I was just like, I could sit here and listen to them play with this for a little bit. Like, that's great.
It didn't get old too.
Yeah.
Because that's the problem with some of these comedies like this too, or for kid films. It'll take a joke and pound you over the head with it to the point that it's not funny anymore.
Yeah.
That didn't happen at all anytime in this film, which made me very happy.
Yeah. They got one for each character, I think, basically.
Yeah.
And that was it. And it was done. And it was like, that's the rule of threes. That's perfect. It was joy, disgust. Well, no, I guess it was four because fear and anger are there. Did anger say anything? No, I think fear said something. And that was the last one. And then they go, yeah, let's get out of here. These guys are jerks. And then anger goes, man, those guys are jerks. Yeah. It's just like, all right. So, yeah, I liked that. I also liked that they set up when the broccoli falls into the sarcasm, it ends up back in the belief system. And so they set up visually like, oh, okay, so when all these balls get, avalanched into the sarcasm, that's where it dumps out.
Right.
So they set that up, and it wasn't just like out of nowhere. They had a plan for that. They do the setup for it,
right.
And I appreciated that a lot because when they started going the sarcasm, I was like, wait, but then how do they? Oh, right, the broccoli.
Yeah. John Krasinski maybe should have taken some notes from this film when like doing If.
Maybe just a little bit.
These things are a little bit more well thought out in this film than If was.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is like the internal logic of this is I think rock solid the whole way through. Yeah, and I always appreciate that in a movie. One that's like it respects me enough to go, here's the rules, establish them, and then apply them to do it. Yeah, there's no real ex machina or anything. They, Pouchy Pouchy shows up, but only because they do the "Hey Pouchy" thing, and they all have to, bite the bullet and do it. And
that's anger leads that charge. He's like, well, come on,
everyone say the words. yeah. I thought that was a really fun thing. It's like it's sort of an ex machina because now we have what we need to get back, but yeah, it shows anger, being like, screw it, I'm frustrated enough, I'm willing to do this, and that's like a really anger thing to do, is to just be like, all right, I'm gonna do the thing I didn't want to do in the first place because I'm just mad enough to do it now. And so I liked all of that.
This could be one of those movies too, and it happened last summer with Elemental. And I think mainly more for Elemental's reason it wasn't the big hit that Disney was hoping for.
Yeah.
Faded out and then came back in the fall time when there was really no kid films out at all.
Yeah.
And tried to gain some more money. This one would be different. I think if Disney is smart, they maybe October run this, like let us run it for a week in the afternoons.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It would probably still do just as well as it's doing right now.
I'm sure it would. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is, I don't know if it'll do Frozen numbers, but
it's heading there.
I saw something earlier about how
it was 12 million just in shows
million.
last night.
Yeah. For one evening. That's crazy.
Good.
On a Thursday.
Right.
Yeah.
But it is summer.
Yeah.
But it shows that everybody's shaking this pandemic thing too, and people are not afraid to go back to the theaters, which I am super happy about.
Me
not
too.
just from a business standpoint either. Just because of my title and what I do, I'm just happy to see people coming back and not be afraid and just enjoy themselves.
Sit down.
And that's awesome.
Yeah, that's what the theater's for, is to sit down and the only time I've ever regretted being in a theater is there's two times. One was the Rise of Skywalker. I was embarrassed to be in there because that movie was so bad. But the other one was The Last Jedi, and it was just because some guy, there was that quiet moment where they go through the other Star Cruiser, and the guy next to me is going, oh F, and I'm like, it's a silent part of the movie, you moron, shut up. But I got him kicked out. So.
I actually, you're going to hate me for this, but I actually don't mind those films at all.
I don't mind The Last Jedi as a movie. I don't think it's a good Star Wars movie. The Rise of Skywalker, from a storytelling standpoint, is such an incredible mess that every copy should be burned in a pile. I believe in film preservation. That's not a movie. That's a corporate turd plopped out into a movie-shaped toilet.
I still have hope that Lucas is going to get Lucasfilms back from Disney and kind of take ownership of that. And
not with them dumping as much money as they are into these TV shows, and like The Acolyte's a disaster by all accounts.
I haven't even looked at that yet.
Not worth your time.
Okay, so that
bad.
Because I know the next movie is going to be The Mandalorian.
Yes, which just.
And I've only watched
series, but whatever.
Honestly, I've only watched like a couple of the first episodes from the first season, and I stopped, not really knowing why. Not that I didn't like it or that I did like it. I just kind of stopped watching it and kind of moved on.
I was kind of season 3. I was kind of like, I don't know about this. Obi-Wan was a major disappointment for me.
Okay,
I love
even
Obi-Wan
with Ewan
Kenobi.
McGregor.
Yeah, I love him so much. Just not. I don't know. It was the direction, and it was the some of the character motivations were just like, what? And it was very silly in a lot of ways, and I was annoyed by that. And then there's also just a couple of times where they had the camera settings wrong, and I watched the whole kind of mini documentary about this on YouTube. But like, it's got a lot of noise artifacts in the Blue channel because there's just some technical things they should have done differently. And so,
well, think for as much money as Industrial Light and Magic has, they would make that correct.
I don't know. It's not ILM's fault. It's the people filming it.
Oh,
so,
okay.
Yeah. So.
My apologies, ILM. Didn't mean to assign blame to you.
Oh no, we'll get on to them for something else. I'm sure.
Okay.
Like the fact that they're not working on GeForce 2, but. Let's see. Yep, there were a couple people who replaced voices in this. Let's just real quickly talk about that. So Tony Hale replaces Bill Hader,
right?
And I think a major step down.
Yeah,
I know
Bill
people
Hader's
like
better.
People like Tony Hale. I'm not a big fan. And then we had
and then there's the other one we just talked about off mic before we came on.
Liza Lapira, who I'm not super familiar with, but she's been Special Agent Michelle Lee in the CBS police procedural NCIS, and then was in Dollhouse, Don't Trust the Bee in Apartment 23. So she's been in some things. She replaced Mindy Kaling, and that made that character so much less annoying to me.
Because I can't stand Mindy Kaling.
Mindy Kaling is not funny. I'm sorry,
no,
she's not.
She really isn't.
And it's.
But I did like the film that she did with Emma Thompson at one point. I don't remember the name of it.
I don't know.
Where Emma Thompson's like a TV executive or something, and she's her assistant. That's about the only thing I can stand Mindy Kaling in.
I thought she was annoying in The Office, and to some point, I think that's Kelly's role there. But also, just the episodes that she wrote, people are like, "Oh, these are some of the best episodes." I didn't like those episodes.
I didn't like it when she first popped up in the 40-Year-Old Virgin.
Yeah. Well, and don't even get me started on Velma. Do you know about Velma?
No.
Okay. Well, we'll talk about that after we close out the Inside Out section. But
okay.
Yeah. Okay. Well, overall, those are the two real replacements in there. Phyllis Smith is back. Amy Poehler's back. Lewis Black.
Phyllis Smith is awesome too.
Yeah, she does a great job.
Love
in this.
Sadness.
I love the moment where Joy's like, everything's fine as long as you're having fun, and everyone goes, no one's having fun. She picks up a crying Sadness.
Yeah.
And it goes like, look, she's having a great time. She's crying with her cheeks pulled up.
And I just like, have I ever steered you wrong? Yes, many times.
Many times. Yeah. But yeah, just great performances all around.
Yeah.
Go see this.
Great kid. Great. Yeah. But no, I can't say it's a kid. This is a good family film. It really is.
I think it's a good film in general. Honestly, I think I don't think it needs any qualifier. I think it is a good script with good performances, with good production value that connects with you on a personal level.
Yes.
And look, I detest most of what Disney does in their day-to-day operations. I think they're a bad company with bad people doing bad things.
Well, yeah.
But
be on the distribution end of that,
right.
and you really see that.
Oh, yeah. Trust me, I've seen some things already.
Yeah.
But when something is done right, I think that you should go and say, all right, this is what we want, and you vote with your wallet with things like this. So yeah, I definitely think that this deserves to be rewarded for its.
And you don't have to worry about any woke issues with this either. It's devoid of that.
Yeah, it really is about a 13-year-old girl not being sure what's happening with her friends.
Right.
And that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's exactly the kind of thing that kids need to see represented and shown off so that they can go like, well, this is what would happen if I did that. I might end up losing any friends I had in the first place and not getting new ones, and it's not worth the pain that I would put people through. So good positive messaging.
Yeah.
It's just, good stuff.
Yeah.
Good stuff. All right. You want to talk about news?
Sure.
The first thing on the agenda is the one that you brought up. Alamo Drafthouse closes 6 theaters last week. This week, what happens?
Sony bought them.
Sony bought them.
Yeah, that's what I was like. So we're gonna have like, let's put a hypothetical in there. So you have a 6-screen theater. We're gonna have 6 screens of Kraven the Hunter or Venom or.
You know what? I hope they play nothing but Madam Web in the theaters for the next 3 years.
I still haven't seen that. I refuse.
I haven't either, but I've watched 5 different videos on it, and each one reveals a new, different, awful thing they did. And it's so much fun.
So those are probably better to watch than the actual movie.
Would you like me to send you some links? They're so much fun.
I wish I had time for all that.
It's only about an hour. They're like 10, 15 minutes each, you know. For more than 7 decades, studios weren't allowed under certain conditions to own an exhibition company, but those were rescinded in 2020. So we're now back to they could buy them all up if they wanted to.
Well, because that's one of the theater chains. I worked for United Artists at one point, which had a viable movie division. They don't anymore. that's pretty much everything that UA had is dissolved into Amazon.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I forgot about that.
Because their biggest property was the James Bond franchise.
Yep. Yeah.
And-
I forgot that Amazon's really in bed with the Broccoli's on that one.
Yep.
Oh, can you imagine a worse thing than waking up in a bed with broccoli all around you? Just, that's a living nightmare. I think that.
And I still see that the last thing that I had read was Henry Cavill is still the front runner for the next Bond. Yeah.
Yeah, it was either Henry Cavill or Aaron Taylor Johnson was the other one that we had talked about on the show.
Henry Cavill's a better choice.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But Aaron Taylor Johnson is Craven, so he's got that going for him.
I don't know if that's going to be a good thing though. That may hurt you more than it will help. I'm not so like nobody was more excited about that film than me when I first saw the trailer for it. And the more they've pushed that movie around, now they've pushed it to the absolute worst spot in the universe for a release schedule. That first part of December where everything goes to die. That gives me no hope for that film at all.
You're thinking about it all wrong. They're just putting it out there for a Christmas window, and the window is bigger now. So really, it's because they have faith in it.
No.
That's what they said.
No, I am shaking my head. No, I don't buy that. That's baloney.
I agree. I do. I just want to play the devil's
Sony
advocate
just
for a
needs to
second.
get out of the Marvel thing altogether. Just I
it
would
go.
say let the professionals handle it, but Marvel anymore is not really the professionals anymore.
Yeah.
They're losing ground left and right.
Would you want to see a Richard Linklater Spider-Man movie?
Actually, yeah, I would.
I think it'd be interesting.
I haven't seen Hitman yet. I really need to watch that.
Me too. I do want to watch it. I was not interested until I learned it was a Richard Linklater.
No, that was
film,
the
and I'm
first thing that got me. Like,
Yeah.
even before Glenn Powell was cast in that, when I read what his next movie was, it sounded like an interesting enough story off of that. And
Yeah.
with his style of filmmaking, I was already sold, regardless of who you have in it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, maybe we can watch that this week and do a kind of mini report on it next week. I think that'd be fun.
Well, my wife will watch it because he's in it. That's all she needs.
Well, hey, as long as you have an excuse to sit down and watch it and make her spend time with
Because
you.
that was the argument with the women in my office today about Twisters. And the one girl that works here says, wait a minute, this is a second one? And I was like, oh my God. I'm like, you're young. Okay. I said, no, look up. There's a first one called Twister.
Which is based on a book that you should have read in middle school.
That has Helen Hunt and Bill Paxton. And she's like, well, who are those people? And I'm like, you're kidding, right?
It was a different time, Andy. It was a different time. Now, kids are watching people stream on People or something. I don't know.
But once I say Glenn Powell's in this one, all the women are like, oh yeah.
At least he's found the thing that gives him career stability.
Yeah, not anyone but you though.
People like that though. I think
People did. I wasn't one of them.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, well, I'm not going to see movies because Glenn Powell's in it.
Well, that's
I'm just
good.
saying that at least half of the movie going public is women. So that's working for him. And we are just going to have to try and look for things
Deal with
like
it.
good stories or good production value.
And that's where I think
something-
Hitman will cover that base because if anything, it seems like a good story.
Yeah. I don't think Glenn Powell is bad. I just don't think I'm surprised by the immediate uprising, if that makes sense. Like he just suddenly is like, boom, Glenn Powell's famous. And I was like, why?
Because of Top Gun.
But he's just kind of barely in it. I didn't care.
Didn't matter. That movie wouldn't die.
I know. It's one of the only films I've seen my dad watch repeatedly.
Wow.
He watches the Rocky movies. He watched some John Wayne movies a lot. And like we watch the Cowboys a lot with him.
That's a good one.
He'll revisit Lonesome Dove every couple of years, and then Top Gun Maverick. He just would turn it on and watch it again, and I'm just like, you always tell me you don't need to see anything twice.
So you need to tell him that there is a 3 in the works for that.
Apparently,
too.
yeah. Tom Cruise will be wheeling himself out onto the runway going, all right, I finally made it to set. Just kidding. And then he gets up and walks and goes, turns out, if you're in Scientology, you drink enough children's blood, you can walk forever. So yeah, Alamo Drafthouse still going to be run by the current CEO Michael Kusterman because he was doing such a good job before. And
they had to close theaters. That's a great career move.
Well, I mean, COVID hit him pretty hard, apparently. So
but I dismiss that excuse, and I absolutely hate it because everybody got hit by that, and it was all how you bounced back after that and recovered. And Alamo was almost one of the last ones to do it, and it was to their disadvantage, and that's why they're in the position the way they are now.
Oh, you mean like the last ones to reopen?
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah. Well, now he's the CEO of Sony Pictures Experiences, who reports to President and COO of Sony Pictures Entertainment, Ravi Ahuja. I hope I said that right.
It sounds good to me.
So yeah, they're talking it up like it's a good thing. I don't think this is necessarily a good thing, but whatever. Is what it is.
We might just have to make a field trip to Dallas to see one of these things, though.
Well, we can't to Dallas now. Those are still closed, from what I read.
Oh, so when are they gonna?
So there's one in Austin, right?
Well, there's a couple of them in Austin.
Okay. Well, yeah. I think the Dallas ones are gone. So
they just wow.
Yep.
That's a major market too. They to kind of abandon that ship and not even try to reopen this. That's a mistake as well.
Someone somewhere has crunched some numbers that were made up and said it wouldn't be worth it.
That I believe.
Someone somewhere has gone, well, our projections say, no one can see the future, you ding-dongs. But they are pretty good with numbers.
Maybe I can convince the owners to start buying a couple of those.
Yeah, let's get some Grand Avenues up in Dallas. I'm all for it.
Because I'm all about I said this before, that people come here for the experience more than the movies. So
yeah, yep. I mean, that's why I come here. I do not like going to most of the other chains. Every time I walk in there, I'm just like, this feels corporate.
Well, I went to Cinemark on Sunday, and I got the usual that walk in, there's nobody at the ticket counter.
How do they never have anyone at the ticket counter?
But here's the thing. They used to have kiosks. Those are gone. So you have to wait at the ticket counter for somebody to... And I literally stood there, got on my phone, bought my ticket online before anybody even remotely started to move over to the box office.
Here, I came in and it was not like a busy day, and I was practically tackled by someone greeting me and trying to lead me to the ticket counter.
Well, see, that's good.
Yeah, that's what I want. I want a full body experience.
But then there's popcorn all over the floor. The bathrooms were a nightmare.
Yeah.
And then the movie I went to was disappointing as well. So
what movie was that?
In a Violent Nature. Something.
Oh, was it not good?
No, I don't want to say I've given up on horror films because I really haven't. But when I read a lot of good stuff and this is supposed to be a good old fashioned slasher film, it's in the vein of Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
And I get what I saw. It makes me think first off, what has happened to the people that analyze horror that this is what we're reduced to? Because the whole thing, even like every slasher film, it's generally chopping up teenagers, but there is some kind of story to it.
Right.
Even for the killer, there is some kind of backstory.
Yeah.
This thing had nothing.
Oh, good.
It was just watching this serial killer walk around the woods, and every teenager or person he came across, he mutilated in the most god-awful way that you could think of. And they were really disgusting to the point that it was almost like I couldn't sit there and watch it. To give you a good point of that, there was a part where the killer takes an axe to a guy's face to the point that all you see is hair and red.
Oh.
And that's too much.
Yeah.
You don't need to go and to let your imagination run wild. This is the first time I had ever seen a log splitter used in one of these things.
Oh. Oh.
But
I've seen someone get put in a wood chipper in a movie.
Well, yeah, Fargo.
Well, and Tucker Dale versus Evil.
Oh, I forgot it. I always think of Fargo when I used to have a snow globe that has that scene in it.
Are you serious?
Yeah. That somebody from one of my old theaters broke. I was mad.
Yeah. You know what they say?
Yeah.
I hope, because I have no idea what I'm referencing.
But getting back to going into the Cinemark and not enjoying the film was one thing too, but they put like a half an hour trailers on, which I really don't like anymore.
I am so tired of hearing it's not the movies without Nuvi. I don't know what Nuvi is. I don't know who started it, but they should be punished.
Well, see, that's why we have you doing the pre-shows.
Exactly. I keep it classy,
Yes.
courteous.
And I don't put more than 5 trailers on a film.
And God bless you for that, sir, because it is the right amount. I get hyped for just the right number of movies, and then it's
And I'm also not putting something on a film that I know we're not going to get, which Cinemark does relentlessly.
Yeah, they're
and
like,
I hate that.
It's just because they buy a package, right? And that package.
No, it's the studios. Like they generally pay for like the trailer placements on things, and that goes out to a certain market, a certain area.
Interesting.
And it doesn't matter if that theater's not going to play it or not. It is part of that package. You have to play it whether you like it or not.
Okay. So
And
what you're saying is that corporate things suck, and you have respect for the individual who comes here.
Correct.
Cool. I like it. There's no joke here. I just thought that was a nice thing that you do.
Yeah.
Let me shake your hand, sir.
I
Good job.
appreciate that. Thank you.
Something we can't probably praise as much is the fact that Mahershala Ali is talking about the Blade delay because
because the director got booted again.
It's slated for November 7th of 2025. Let's see.
How many problems this is another one that Marvel. How many problems is this film going to have?
All of them.
The original one didn't have that many problems.
I know, and they had to deal with what's his face? Dadgummit, who played Blade?
Oh, Wesley Snipes.
Yeah, and have you heard about what happened on the set of Blade 3? Have you heard?
No,
Patrick.
I just know Blade 3 is a really bad movie.
Yeah, well, apparently. Wesley Snipes would only talk with the director through Post-it notes that he had a PA go back and forth with. Like he was such a diva
What does he
on
think?
set.
He's Daniel Day-Lewis?
I don't know, man. It was just like everything about it was a mess behind the scenes. And what is his
You
name?
can tell. The movie is a mess.
Oh, he was the guy who was in the
Patton Oswalt.
Patton Oswalt. Yes. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
As we wasted that much dead air.
That's okay. I'm just going to cut that out. It'll be fine.
Okay, good.
No one will ever know. But yeah, Patton Oswalt has this. There's a video online of him talking about all the insanity behind the scenes. Just look up Patton Oswalt talks about Blade 3 because it's straight up insanity.
It's really sad too because they're like Ryan Reynolds is in that, Jessica Biel's in that, and it's a bad movie. And it's really a shame because the second one, that series was so good that it was even better than the original one. Guillermo del Toro directed that.
Yeah.
And it was a great story. And that's where...
And as is usual, Guillermo del Toro makes something that I like, and then they refuse to make another one.
Yeah. I like all his Spanish-speaking horror films. I think they're really good.
I haven't seen those.
Devil's Backbone. If anything, watch Pan's Labyrinth. Pan's Labyrinth is not really a horror film.
Yeah.
But I cry at the end of that.
Oh, really?
It's really sad.
I've heard many good things about it.
That one is really, and the monsters and the makeup effects and the creations for that.
I know the one with the eyeballs in its hands.
Yeah,
and stuff.
that's
which is the same guy who plays the Fish Man in Hellboy. I can't remember his name.
Oh, he was also the same guy that played in The Shape of Water.
Yeah. If you need a fish man,
this is the guy.
You go to him.
This is the guy to call. Right.
Apparently, though, the director is Jan Demange, who said they gave me the R rating on Blade, which is important. So it's going to be the second R-rated Marvel movie now. Apparently, Mahershala Ali said, "We're working on it. That's the best I could tell you. I'm really encouraged with the direction of the project. I think we'll be back at it relatively soon." It's like
his agent wrote that.
That's what he said last December. So that's probably going to get delayed again.
Yeah.
But speaking of R-rated Marvel projects, Deadpool and Wolverine is apparently they're projecting it will open to more than $200 million.
Yeah, that's that hasn't changed. They've always said that.
So that's a
even though you don't like the non-cell phone thing I put on the theaters here.
Well, I did say I didn't like it. I just said it felt really weird to me to see Wolverine cursing and using the C word.
But I'll tell you what, when I came and saw Bad Boys Ride or Die the other night, the people that were in that theater absolutely loved it. Everybody was laughing at it.
Yeah.
So that's really encouraging for me.
I just think it's a sin, that's all. But I think it's going to be an interesting movie for sure. I mean,
and that's another, we got to watch that in 3D too.
Should we though?
Yeah.
Why that one? Just out of curiosity. I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just
for Marvel's everything that they get wrong, most of the technical stuff they get right. So the 3D on that might actually be pretty good.
Tell that to Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. Have you seen MODOK? My God.
Well, I screened that in 3D, so yeah.
So
it wasn't that bad.
What are you talking about? Of course it's that bad.
At least it wasn't like Renfield that I watched at 2 a.m. the one night.
That's fair. I don't know. It's that's going to be something. I think that was all the news that was really of any interest. Is just
the only other thing that I ran across is House of Dragon got renewed for another season. Mm-hmm. Not surprising. My one show that I like on Max got canceled.
Oh, really?
After Tokyo Vice. Really like this show.
I haven't seen it.
It's based on a true story about an American reporter that went to go work for a Japanese.
Oh yeah,
and
who's
he covered Ken Watanabe's in that.
That's right. Yeah,
and he covers the crime beat, especially having to do with the Japanese mafia.
Yeah,
and the first season was fantastic. I loved it. I still haven't gotten through the second season yet for assorted reasons, but I was kind of sad to read that. But I did read that there were a couple of production studios or something that are looking into keeping that series going. So that made me a little bit more optimistic.
Yeah. I mean, one place will drop a series and another place will pick it up.
Yeah, Netflix that has like crazy money, it seems like, to spend on these god-awful cult documentaries they keep putting out like every week, which my wife gravitates to and watches every single one of them.
Those are my guilty pleasures sometimes. Is it just a good cult documentary?
They
it's
are,
fun.
But what was the one that they're all getting to be about the same. And I even told her this last night. I'm like, they're all sexual misconduct, taking a whole bunch of money, and then everybody comes out and accuses them of, no, I'm a man of. If you were a man of God, how much of action do you need to ascend to heaven?
That's not how it works.
I know.
Salvation is a gift. You don't earn it. That's the whole thing.
Well, that's not what these guys think.
Yeah, they're wrong. They also don't know how to make Kool-Aid, I've heard. I've heard it's really bad. Ooh. So
I would much rather watch a documentary about either Spawn Ranch and the Manson thing or the Jonestown Massacre more than these new things that keep coming out there. They just seem absolutely ridiculous to me.
Well, and then the other one that was really interesting to me was the one that was about it was called the way down, something like that. But it was about this church that started a weight loss program, and then the main kind of figurehead of it is this woman with ridiculous hair, and
kind of like Tammy Faye Baker.
Worse.
That's a tough statement.
When I tell you it's bad, it's bad. Gwen Shamblin, who she's passed away now. There was a big crash. Spoilers for reality, but yeah, her hair is just it became the more she kind of became culty, the bigger the hair became, and
it's almost like Tammy Faye Baker. Yeah.
I mean,
there's actually a decent. Whoa! Hey, don't light a match around that woman's hairdo.
I know. I don't know if she's trying to save the bees in there or what, but that is huge. It's huge, man. If you want to see this picture, I'll post it on our Instagram at Grand Review Pod. Yeah. But anyway, I thought that one was a very interesting documentary.
Okay, there is a good movie with the one that Jessica Chastain did about Tammy Faye Baker, though. The Eyes of Tammy Faye.
I have not seen that.
And Andrew Garfield plays Jim Baker in that.
Really?
Yeah. It's actually
I
a decent
Andrew
film.
Garfield. Andrew Garfield is, I think, a very, very talented actor who can do a lot of different stuff very well and maybe doesn't get the credit he deserves for it.
Hacksaw Ridge.
Yeah, Hacksaw Ridge.
Yeah.
His performance as not as Peter Parker, but as Spider-Man is good.
Yes.
Unfortunately, Spider-Man 2 is a travesty of screenwriting. And the fact that the main villain is just like, nobody likes me. It's my birthday. I know comic books are dumb. I know, but like, why did you try to make Jamie Foxx act like a nerd? That's stupid.
Yeah, that's
They fix it in No Way Home, though. They did kind of like
they did
revamp his
and
character.
they did it the right way too,
Yes,
which is even more important.
Having him be Big Blue Man was dumb. But the way that he looks in No Way Home is like, that's the character.
Much better.
I know. Yeah. I really like that.
And I thought I had read yesterday, or I saw something. I don't know how true it is because, just because it's on the internet doesn't mean it's true.
What?
But
You're telling me that doctors don't hate that one weird trick that I learned?
so that's your deep dark secret,
Yeah, that's
and
why,
we're going to
yeah.
leave that locked away.
I have got to start throwing away those lemons.
But The Last Ronin that's supposed to come out, which is an R-rated Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle film,
Yeah.
potentially is just going to Netflix now.
What?
Yeah, I was not happy to read that, and I hope that's wrong
Ew.
because I really want to see that. Because I know from those graphic novels, reading them many, many years ago now, that is a big screen story.
Yeah.
And those books are really good.
Mm-hmm.
So if they just drop kick that to like a streaming service, that's going to be a real injustice.
That sucks. And I'm also like, I'm on the verge of just, for multiple reasons, just canceling every streaming service I have, honestly, because
I'm close.
I'm just, so much of it is junk. I don't,
Watch
either is not
or care.
good, or I don't want it in my eyeballs in the first place, or the other side of it is just like, if I don't have that, how much other stuff would I do? How much?
Right.
Like if my entertainment was just coming to the theater this week and watching a movie and being like, that's it for the week.
Uh-huh.
What would that change my life? Would I get my stuff in order? No, I'm a mess. But maybe it's never worked for anyone else, Andy. But maybe it'll work for me.
Because you're an anomaly to everything too, Garrett. So that makes sense.
What's wrong with me? Why am I like this?
Maybe you need to watch Inside Out 2 again and figure that out.
That's true. Where's the time when they introduce insecurity?
That'll be part 3.
Part 3. Yeah. I Inside Out 2 is so good, man. I'm just like, I just had like watched the movie in my head for a second. I was like, oh, that was fun. So, anything else you think you want to cover this week?
No, I think that's other than I don't know what we're going to do. Are we going to do bike riders next week, or are we going to try to do Possum Trot as well? Since I got a Wednesday screening.
Good question. I think we'll leave that as a little sizzle. Maybe we'll watch a movie called Possum Trot. Maybe we won't. Find out next week on the Grand Review.
It's just like I said, there's an advance. I'm having 2 shows next Wednesday or the Wednesday after that. I can't remember. Look it up on the website.
Yeah, it's Grand Avenue First, right? Getting an advanced screening.
Yeah.
So that's awesome.
Yeah, I'm excited, but there's no advanced ticket sales right now.
Well,
I think it just needs a little bit of word of mouth.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
the summer kid films is always going on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Yeah.
I know that next week is Despicable Me 3.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
I probably should come see that before Despicable Me 4 comes out.
No.
No? No. You're the one who's always saying, "Oh, Illumination is God's gift to eyeballs."
I didn't say that's a little over exaggerating, don't you think?
No.
I just honestly, any of those films, you really don't need to see the one before to figure out what's going on in the new one.
Okay, cool. So, but Despicable Me 3, not one you'd recommend?
No, I like it. It's just that do you really want to sit in the big auditorium with a whole bunch of kids and nannies?
I mean, given that I myself am a child, it seems appropriate.
Too bad that G-Force is Disney, or I would do that for the summer kid film just for you. But it's Disney, and they refuse to let any like past titles go out for like those kind of things.
What if I have a DVD copy that I've ripped off of fmovies.com?
No.
What if What if I pay you under the table? $5.
No.
$10?
No.
$7.50. I went too high. What is GeForce worth to you, man? That's what I'm trying to find out.
Dude, not much.
All right, so how about 50 cents and a paperclip?
Sold.
All right, here we go.
No, I think we're about done for this week.
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess we just want to say then thank you for joining us.
Yes, thank you.
We appreciate you coming in and listening to our little show.
Yep.
We hope that if you like it, give us a review. It doesn't hurt anybody. I think unless you have
Unless you're my ex-wife that doesn't like that I got flack about because of our thing of if.
Or if you have arthritis in your thumb, then maybe don't do it. But otherwise, 5-star review helps a lot, helps the podcast get out there. If
Yeah.
you'd like for us to make more of these, we definitely want to keep doing this for sure.
Yes.
We're committed to this. But yeah, the more people we reach, the easier it is to kind of get sponsorships on board and make this something that isn't just a giant suck of a time. Because I have to edit out all the stupid stuff I say. Imagine what I say.
Oh God, how much
that doesn't get
stupid
left in.
stuff do I say that you got to edit out? Wow.
None, surprisingly. It's really frustrating.
Really?
I'm always just like, it's my fault.
Wow, that's awfully nice of you to say that, though. Thank you.
But yeah, thanks for joining us. We
Yes,
appreciate you all.
We appreciate you all.
And we'll see you at the movies.
Yep. Take care.
Bye-bye.